There was a body in the wild grass. Wild grasses. The body was not quite sure how far the grasses went in any direction, but it felt like a long way. Felt like only tall grass forever. The breeze was steady. The body thought it could hear the grasses touching each other as they rocked back and forth. Invisible hands of wind touching the stalks and the long, skinny leaves. Maybe not, but the body thought it could hear a soft hiss, almost a maternal sound that was ongoing. From the body's resting position, there was nothing visible above the grass except for sky and the occasional insect meandering past in flight. They thought about sitting up to look above the grass, but something did not. They thought about sitting up, but the body did not move. It lay there, resting on a bed of crushed grass, unmoving, and stared at the sky. Their thoughts strangely disconnected from their body, like there was no body at all. The grasses lined them on every side. They stood tall, close together, a crowded forest, looking down and looking at each other as if in shock regarding the body's presence. After so many days and nights in chorus with only each other and the dirt and the sky. The body watched the grasses move, rocking back and forth in a dance that was intimate and also something vast. The body imagined it to be vast. The dance of the wild grasses. Imagine them stretching out as far as can be seen. And much farther beyond that, too. There was smell. The moist air smelled green, rivers of green, shades of green with yellow threads mixed throughout, and all of it carried by droplets warmed by the star. I can taste it, the body thought. It's almost sweet. There were other scents. One was underneath, almost too hard to taste, but it was there. It came from the old halls of time. The old halls of time. Hidden, stretching out, darkness with movement, everything shifting. The body thought, this is a smell of dead grasses from thousands of generations, the graves of ancient families of mushrooms and beetles across the span of time, all in this sea of grass. There was stillness. Then two bees flew by. Their fat, round bodies barely hanging in the air. The engine of their wings sounded like tiny monks chanting a golden prayer. Slowly, they passed over the body and then made their way off to another part of the world. Stillness and quiet. Relative stillness, for there was always to be a breeze, and relative quiet, for the grasses kept up their chorus. The blue was a big part of this world, the backdrop. Everything else was set against it. The body wondered, how did so much of it get here? What does it feel like? If I could move, if I could reach out to touch it, what would it feel like? It seems like it would be exceptionally soft. Exceptionally soft. Or perhaps as hard as skull bone, a giant blue skull encircling everything. The body thought about what to do. What should I do? But without the ability to move, there didn't seem to be a reason or the possibility to do anything. The wind ceased for a moment, and the dark broom of a smell surrounded the body. It had a low buzzing to it, and it filled the body with panic. Then the wind shifted and it was gone. Thank goodness. Perhaps a new type of movement would take over now. All the hidden waters would rise to the surface. Long moments passed with nothing but blue and grass, rocking back and forth. The body became drowsy, the heart and breath still moving here in the wild grass. But they were moving slower now, much slower. It seemed hard to detect, almost like memories. Old friends were beginning to newly reveal themselves, voices rising in the chorus of the labyrinth. They had notes that made no sound for the ear, but were strong enough to bend the world. That's when the body realized that it was beginning to eat itself. The nerves carrying tiny symphonies of panic back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Of, was it a ghost? Been here? Long caverns inside me? Time is measured by my body now. And the sky. That's what the body thought. And the wind. They imagined a dozen timekeepers lying broken in the grass, as if they had stopped spinning one by one while the body was in darkness, their hands coming to rest. Tiny rusting circles and gears. The body thought, once we ran on tension, all of us, it was our lifeblood. That's what was believed. Efficiency. Now, only stillness. Relics of a world long gone. Perhaps having spent life looking down with curving spine, eyes blurring. Perhaps with the time, finally with time to look. The body began to notice that thirst had arrived, and hunger followed not long after. The skin inside their mouth was dry, taut, and sticky. Dust began to cling to the narrow passage of their throat. This thirst seemed to come from a tiny star burning in their neck. It had two long fingers, one resting on the inside of the throat and one tapping on the right side of the brain. There was nothing to do but let it take its toll. Think, lead. Oh, mercy. I think it's happening. Just then, a grasshopper arced out of the tall grass and landed on the body. This triggered a memory, a flash. The body saw a fragment of, is this a memory? Of flying in sunlight, weightless, thoughtless. How? When? The body searched frantically for the rest, but it was all empty halls that led to nowhere. The body was desperate. It had to be real, had to have happened. Then, not able to connect to anything, the memory climbed on the back of the grasshopper, and the green athlete leapt back into the forest of grass and disappeared. Memory, the body thought, like trying to hold a handful of honey or blood. That made the body think about time again. How is it measured now? By what? Light? Memories of light? Or is it my body floating here in this sea? It was hard to tell. Details arrived as if they had traveled from great distances. Thoughts of travel arose, of journeys. The body had heard the idea spoken of in stories long ago, moving across vast distances by the exertion of will, no knowledge of what comes next. Each new valley like walking through the ear of a sleeping giant, trees guiding the way. This was all in the times before the Great Explication. What must have that been like? The body wondered. Clouds high above the body were moving slowly across the field of blue. Carriers of light, the body thought. I imagined the sound of wind surrounding you, the high wind carrying you along, moving through light all day and stars all night. What are you thinking? I used to daydream about riding on you as if on a ship. Is that a voice? They could barely hear it. Perhaps another memory. Wait. And the memory appeared, rising up from far below, of being held, water dripping, wrapped in a cloth, held in someone's arms. Tears began to flow down the sides of the body's head. They flowed into their ears, filled them up, then dropped out again and down into the grass. And the sadness rose as if coming from an underground spring. It rose and overflowed as if it would never cease. Rolling sobs bloomed from the body. The earth began to shake, and the light sharpened. Suddenly someone was there, leaning over and looking in their eyes. And the voices, the body couldn't see them, but they could feel that they were there. A blue flame. The body felt waves of heat biting. Great spikes of pain slowly piercing as their hips rose into the air, roaring, filled the space, filled the world. The body screamed and shook. The Blue Angel watched them being ripped apart. Then everything went to black. When the body's eyes opened, there was only sky again. And small storms of pain moving around inside. They seemed to be getting smaller, seemed to be traveling away, moving off to distant lands. The body begged, as if there was someone to bargain with. Please, don't let them come again. Please, please. And then exhaustion washed over them, pushing them into the soil, and they slept. The body dreamt, and in their dream they could move again. The first discovery was their arms, the left one to begin. It felt heavy and frail. The body thought, you have cut a path through thousands of days, and now I can barely lift you into the night. It was the fingers that rose first, like an animal emerging from a hole, and they slowly pulled the forearm behind. All of this required, with the current state of emaciation, great concentration, the raising of the wrist, like the launching of a ship into a vertical sea. The other arm was the same, a weight almost beyond the body to lift. But the old shoulders, the old masses of love lifted them one by one, once again. And when they had raised them both, they spread their fingers out and looked at the stars between them, and joy came close. So it went through the night of their dream, or the dream of their night. Slowly they rolled onto their side, waves of relief, crumbling pains washed through them. They cried out, but did not stop. They needed to keep on. They placed their hands on the ground and pushed their torso up. Pain shuddered their bones, and the night air dropped into the unused bottoms of their lungs. Salt from tears stung their eyes. They sat like a child and looked at their hands in amazement. They touched their face, their chest, their legs. Their legs could feel everything. Why stop? Why stop now? They thought. Slowly, they got to their hands and knees. A wave of dizziness overtook them. They closed their eyes, stayed very still until it passed. Then, with great recklessness, they placed a foot, a hand to knee, then push, and another foot and hand to other knee. They rocked there as if the world were a swing, as if the stars held strings, as if the one fall that would end everything was worth the risk. And one after the other, with their bony hands, they began to climb themselves until, at last, they stood fully in the night air. They waited a few moments to steady themselves, took in a deep breath, then lifted their head and looked out across the sea of grass. The body woke to rain, no clouds, racing past. Why do I continue? They wondered. They could feel a great opening in the soil around them. Water was calling, and thousands of insects came climbing out of the soil, out of the darkness down below. The body opened its mouth. Water from the heavens flew inside. Relief as it slid down the dying tissue. Relief so great it was almost its own kind of pain. The body remembered standing. How? It must have been a dream, the body thought, for I can no more move my arms or legs than dance beneath the moon. As hundreds of worms rejoiced in the deluge, the body thought, everything will be different for me now. It's already begun. I can feel it. It's like flickering. A lightness. What a relief. Once more, if not for a future, then at least for the moment at hand. What a relief. Letting go now. Worms began to crawl across the body as if in a pilgrimage across ancient temple ground. The dark clouds of the storm were low and moving so quickly that for a moment the body thought it was looking down while soaring over a dark landscape. A new kind of exhaustion rose. How much longer do I have to do this? Am I stuck? The body wondered, but thoughts were not flowing well anymore. They washed in and out, mixing together like waves with the fading energy. The body tried to ready themselves, tried to use the last energy of their mind to focus. They tried to pray. Oh, maker of all things, but ants were beginning to crawl around in the opening below their ribs, and it was immensely distracting. The body decided to become angry. They searched to find some of the old reliable, and from somewhere, a flicker. I have fought fiercely for who knows how long, to cry out, to stand, to be remembered, then just to remember. But it's all come to nothing. To hear, there was nothing to be done. The body began to let their eyes sink inward, and all became quiet. In their darkness, a memory rose. The body was a child in it. They were sitting in a giant tree, or at least they remembered the tree as being giant, the way everything is big when you're small. They were sitting alone on a low branch of the giant. It's such a small child. How did I get up there? Where were the others? The body remembered being alone much of the time when they were little, and it felt like sadness was beginning to rise. Or is that the ants again? But then they remembered that often they had not minded being alone. All right, that might be wrong. Perhaps it was just that I didn't feel alone. That's right. That was it. Sitting on the giant arm of the tree, they felt like they were surrounded, that friends were everywhere. The tree, the field, the light, all friends. Stones, leaves, the wind. The soft rain continued to fall, and another part of the memory emerged. I was talking, conversing, speaking to the wind, singing tiny songs with the birds. What a strange But the body began to fade away again. And as the soft rain fell on their face and the rest of their sinking flesh, it began to wash away the blood, the dust, the pollen. It rinsed away the sweat, the salt, the urine. It was a bath washing away what was temporary. After some time, the rain stopped, and light began to break through the low running clouds. Cracks in the darkness filled with light after the storm. Where is this coming from? The body thought. The star must be sinking. How strange. And then, as if the lifting of a veil that they had forgotten existed. What's this? The body rose into the air, energy flooding through them, and they began to remember everything. What's this? I know you, the body shouted at the light. Joy was flowing from their eyes, and they began to laugh and laugh. I was lost. I remember you from when I was a child. Then there was a long sound from beyond the halls of time. The body opened itself up, and the light rushed in. In the days and weeks to come, the creatures of the wild grasses shared or fought over what remained of the body. The overwhelming bounty changed everything in the wild grasses back then. There were more young ones born, families grew larger, species grew stronger. Much later, older creatures would go to the site of the bones, even if they couldn't remember much about the bounty anymore. And after many years, even the bones changed into soil, and finally into grass, into the wild grass.